Hello, hello! This is the Dancing Fetus, and this is a video series that I am entitling The Dancing Fetus's Worthless Unity Coding Challenge. And basically, I dabble in Unity. I've made like 2 little videos of me just tinkering around in Unity, and I'm far from a game developer, I'm far from a programmer. However, I've read some tutorials, I've watched some tutorials, and I kind of have a decent feeling of how Unity works. So I kind of just threw together a quick little 2D demo of something super fast you can throw together in Unity. And so here's my player object here, and he can like hop around a little bit, and he can hop around to these little platforms, and oh look, he lands on them. Look at how amazing I am as a game developer. Let's get this to Steam Greenlight stat. But in all seriousness, like I literally threw this together in less than 5 minutes, and the reason I threw it together in less than 5 minutes is because of the Unity concepts of rigid body 2D, which is right there, and then box collider 2D, which is right here. And so my player object has both these things tied to it, and then my world objects, which are just these, if we go to scene view, which are just these little platforms that I threw out there, they also have the 2D rigid body and a box collider 2D attached to them, except the only difference is the world has this is kinematic, which basically means physics are not applied to it, where my player object does have physics applied to it, and you have this gravity scale here. And so basically the gravity scale is constantly pushing my player to the ground, but then once it hits another box collider, it stops. So the only thing I have coded in this entire project is this little loop right here, which is basic movement, and then if I hit the space bar, some forces applied to the up axis, y axis, and so I can kind of like rock it around a little bit. So this is literally, once you get kind of familiar with Unity, a 5-second project. And because it was so easy, I was thinking to myself, how could you make this super simple thing very complex and hard for no reason? And that lies the challenge today. So here's what my challenge is, and I'll show you. I want to apply this exact same effect, and by exact same effect, I guess a spiritual equivalency of this effect without using any rigid body. Be gone with you, rigid body. Any box collider on the player. So remove that component, and any rigid body. Let's just see. Remove, and any box collider on the objects. So let's remove component, and let's just see what the game kind of does. Let me remove it on all 3. Just for solidarity's sake. All these. Be gone with you, to rigid body 2D and box collider 2D. So right now I've just removed all the components that make this project super simple, and when I hit play to run my game, what happens? Absolutely nothing. So the challenge of this is to make something happen, and hopefully make it happen in a similar vein of what was happening with the rigid body 2D and the box colliders. So let's see if I can do it. Well, YouTube, the Dancing Fetus has done it. I have made a simple 5-second Unity project, multiple hours long, for 0 benefit other than the own accomplishment that I have done it, kind of. And I'll show you what's going on. So basically I have these 2 scripts that I created. I created a camera script here that follows the player, a world script here, which is, I'll get into it, and then the player script. So let me just give you a quick compare and contrast here. So this is the script I had to control my player when I was using the Unity rigid body 2Ds and box colliders. Look at that. It's super small. Here's what I'm doing now. Look at this. Boom. This is what's controlling my player now. Does it have to be this complicated? I don't know. It was for me, for my feeble mind to understand. So let me just quickly walk you through some stuff. I have this fall method here. This is my kind of faux gravity that I've coded, and then I have a jump method here. Since I'm not using physics, I can't apply force like I was doing before. So basically, I'm just kind of increasing the Y position based on a jump speed. I got these. Let me just give you a quick breakdown on like Unity scripts for the people that don't dabble in this stuff. So I have an awake method, and this just populates all these variables when the scene loads. And then I have a start method, which I think kind of does the same thing. I don't know why you would use one or the other, but I used both because I was feeling saucy. And then right here, this is the power of Unity. This is the update loop. So what the update loop does is it tries at least to do all this shit every frame. So all this stuff is getting calculated on a frame by frame basis. So that means if your game is running at 5,000 frames a second, all this stuff is being done 5,000 times a second. If it is only rendering at, like, say, 3 frames a second, all this stuff is done 3 times a second. And you'll see a little weird thing here, this times fixed delta time. What this does, it kind of breaks that, because any kind of movement or like physics or faux physics in my case type stuff, you don't really want to be tied to frame rate, because it'll slow down or speed up based on how many frames you're rendering. So what this does is it locks it to like a fixed time. So like in my fall speed here, my player is going to be moving down on a fixed time, not tied to frame rate. So that's why you see that. So I've kind of created the spirit of the same thing, and as you can see, there is, let me remove this script, remove the old controller script, and let me tie this sweet, my brand new and improved, or new and cumbersome for no reason script tied to the player, and all these world objects. Let me tie the world script to, and let me walk you through the world script. Before I really break down this script, let me just kind of give you a quick overview of how Unity handles position. All position in Unity revolves around 3 axes, or axes, I don't really know how you say it. So, axi, I don't know. It revolves around 3 axes, the X, Y, and Z. Since we're just kind of just doing a 2D project, the only axes we care about is the X and Y. So X is left and right, Y is up and down. So with that being said, every frame, what this is doing, it is getting where the player is in the grid, which is the game. So it's saying like, hey, player, what's your position on the X, Y, and Z axis? And so here I'm also checking to see if the player is jumping, because if the player is jumping, I don't want to do any of this stuff down here. But that's really not important. The big thing is player, hey player, where you at on the X, Y, and Z axis? And so I have an if statement here that every frame it checks to see if the player falls within the width of the sprite of the platform. So if the player ever falls within the width, the render width of the platform, it's going to do something. And that something is, it's going to send the player 2 things. One, it's going to tell the player that it's over something. So it's going to set a over something Boolean value, which is a fancy way to say, hey, this variable holds a true or false statement. It's going to say, hey, player, you're over something. So that equals true. And then if you land on me, the furthest you can go down is this position on the y-axis. And how that plays out is this. Let me just hit play if I didn't completely confuse you. Look at that. Did you see that? You see that? My jump's a little flakier, but that's maybe not perfect. But look at that. Look at that. I have kind of done it. I mean, this is no physics. Oh, I'm dying. No physics. No rigid bodies. Just sweet, sexy math. Thanks for watching part 1 of Worthless Unity Coding Challenge. In part 2, we're going to go and try to fix that issue that I had with when I jumped on the angled object. It didn't kind of go with the flow, if you will. So we're going to go over that. If you want to play around with this, I have the GitHub. All my code's posted on my GitHub. It's linked on the screen, so feel free to go there and just download my repository. And if you have Unity installed, just load the scene, and you guys could probably figure out a much better way to do it than I am. But yeah, thanks. I'll see you next time. Bye.